live, laugh.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Daniel.
And I'm Christian.
And we are joined by the once and future party manimal. Is that how you say it? Is it it's tricky to say. Manimal.
Yeah.
Because you want to go with the M. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zane Riley. How are you doing tonight?
Very well. How are you guys?
Doing great.
We're doing great. It's Revolt week, which is becoming one of my favorite weeks of the year very fast.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can carry through that momentum, and because I think this is going to be awesome, man.
And if you wanted to know what his top favorite week is, it is Toyotathon.
Yeah.
It's right next to Shark Week.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Doesn't take much for
really
us.
Good Shark Week.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight. And before we get started, where can everybody find you on your socials?
You can find me on all the social medias. You can just search Zane Riley. That's my real name. I'm not creative whatsoever, so it's pretty easy.
That's a killer name, man.
So it's IAW Zane Riley on Instagram, ZaneX Core on Twitter, because Zane Riley was already taken.
Yeah.
And then for like a long time, that dude kept just getting updates about wrestling shows that he wasn't on. And then one day he followed me, and I was like, "So what's the deal on getting my name?" And he was like, "Nah, man." And then he's just stopped using it and will not let me have it.
That's the worst.
Let me do something with it, man.
Let me have it, man.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys follow Zane here. We look super.
And follow Zane Riley too, man. If he's taking pictures, fuck him.
Yeah. How about everybody? Any questions you have about anything?
Yeah.
Whether it be like, why is your car's check engine light on? Why?
Message at Zane Riley.
Yeah. Why did your girlfriend break up with you? He's got all the answers. So
any Q&A you might have, just
whatever.
add it right there. Yeah. We won't get answers, but we can ask the question.
You can hashtag whatever the hashtag for this podcast is.
Yeah, let's bully Zane Riley into getting.
We have the platform.
Yeah.
People forgot he ever messaged me, so it won't even matter.
Awesome.
Who the fuck is this?
So, as we get into this, I guess the best place to start is the beginning. Where does wrestling start for you? Are you a kid? Are you like what's that story?
I was a young child living in Gastonia, North Carolina, home of such famous people as James Worthy and Fred Durst. So I was a child, very young. I watched it with my father, and I remember through like my entire childhood being a thing. And where we lived in North Carolina, we're very rural or very countryish area, like at the base of Crowder's Mountain. If you have ever been to the mountain, you won't even know. We got WCW, so I was brought up as a WCW kid.
Yeah. So
like off of the hills of like, it wasn't NWA, it was past that, but it was the WCW with all the Dustin Rhodes and the Dusties and the Ricks and all that stuff.
Awesome. What kind of like drew you into that? You have like,
I don't know that anything really drew me in as much as that's just what I did as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I guess my father, drew me in, and like, so this is all his fault.
Yeah.
So like I just remember having always watched wrestling.
Okay.
And so it just kept on until like high schoolish area, when it just wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't need any more strikes against me. So like I just wasn't that into it. It was really like, I remember seeing kids at school wearing wrestling shirts, and I was like, fucking nerds. and then skip forward to I'm 23 years old, and then I won't say what year that was because that's fucking awkward. And then I bought a house with a partner at the time, and we didn't have a lot of extra money. So like me and my buddies would just come to the house, and we would watch, we would turn on Monday Night Raw and like make fun of it. Yeah. Because like we all watched wrestling as a kid. So like, oh, we're just going to shit on wrestling because this is stupid. And then like the more we did it, the more we just really got back into wrestling.
Mm.
And back in the day, God damn it, this is gonna age me. Back in the day, there used to be this website called I think it was just straight up like North Carolina Independent Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It would have lists of just every indie show or better show just in the area. So by city.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And it would be like, oh, it's here, this time, this address. And it was just a list. And I at the Gastonia is 30 minutes outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. 20 minutes past that is this small town called Lincolnton. So there was a show there for $5.
What a deal.
On the far side of Charlotte was a different indie show, and they had the Boogie Woogie Man.
Sugar Valley, yeah.
Like, man, I really want to go see Boogie Woogie Man, but that's like $15 and 30 minutes away. So we go to Lincolnton for a $5 show, and it's just me and some buddies, and we go, and it's this very tiny, like back in the day, it used to be a schoolhouse, but there was only like 5 rooms. That's how small this schoolhouse was, and it was like a VFW of sorts.
Yeah.
And then we're watching this show, and it wasn't good, but everyone was having so much fun.
Yeah.
Everyone had their own character, and just you look past all of that, and like fans are right there. There's not really a barrier, so you're just like right in the guy's face, and you're just yelling at him and shit talking. And we had the most fun. And I was like, dude, I think I can do this. Fucking, the hubris of every person that's never done anything ever. And to backtrack a tad bit, in school, I was a theater kid.
There you go.
I did theater. That's what got me to wrestling. I didn't really do a lot. I played tennis. I was a subpar tennis player at best. And so with theater and the way they were putting it all together, I was like, this is cool. I can do this. And my buddy was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. And he's he's my same height, my same size. He's a black dude. So like, we had this fucking great look together. And it's like, we're going to make all the money in Lincolnton, North Carolina, which is like $45. And so like, yeah, we're going to do this. And then we have a show in 2 weeks, and they just blew me. Everybody was just faving me like, oh, go talk to that guy. Go talk to that guy. Talk to the lady selling popcorn, all this. So eventually I talked to a person, and he's like, oh yeah, just be here in 2 weeks. Dope. 2 weeks later, I show up. My buddy does not, because he's a fucking ass. And then I was like, okay, cool. And so I spent, no one would speak to me. Sorry if you might have had like all of these questions in succession, and I just talked for the last 7 minutes on it. I'm sorry.
This is easy.
No,
so,
yeah,
man,
I'll just interview myself. I'm a podcaster. Don't worry. So everybody's kind of like a dick or whatever, and I didn't really think much of it. And then I got in the ring, and it was with he's still a good friend of mine to today. He's no longer a wrestler. He got smart, got the fuck out. His name is David Hayes. He was the bounty hunter at the time. He's like, all right, here's how you do a bump. Shows me one. So, all right, now you do it. And then I spent like the next hour to an hour and a half just bumping. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, oh, you did that wrong. Do it this way. Bump for an hour and a half, like fucking dying.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we're going to take a break. This time we're going to run ropes instead. Like, what the fuck? Okay, cool, whatever. So I spent the next hour just rope, walk, now jog, now run. And it's just the same thing. And we do that for an hour. And the way those ropes were made is all ropes are basically just hydraulic wire. And they're wrapped. Some are wrapped in garden hose. Some are wrapped in garden hose, then taped up. Nothing fancy. Well, these were wrapped in like PVC pipe. Oof. So like you would smack hard plastic every time. And so I did that. And then he was like, all right. So all I want you to do right now is give me 25 bumps, but they got to be good ones. So I spent the next hour trying to get 25 good bumps because that shit's hard. Yeah. And then He's like, all right, cool deal. We'll be back in 2 weeks. You can go. I was like, fuck. All right, cool. So like, I was like, all right, I didn't know anything about the business at the time, obviously. So I was like, all right, cool deal. So I left. And then the next day or two, I just crawled to the bathroom and my back is black and yellow and, couldn't fucking piss and blood kind of thing from just all the trauma of it all. And then 2 weeks later, I came back and they were completely different people. They were like, oh, we just wanted to beat the shit out of you to see if you'd come back. Yeah. And I was like, today that would probably be frowned upon. But to me at the time, and still a little bit how I feel today, is that they treated me like I didn't belong so that when I did come back, I proved that I did.
Yeah.
And then that's when we actually started training and adding stuff. And then I just had a little accelerated course there and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And then the rest is history that I will wait till you ask those questions. So that's 13 solid minutes of that story.
That's great. That's great. I do want to backtrack a little bit to the theater kids. What are some of the roles that you played?
So we did a lot of short stuff. So like the first class that you would take usually was just mime stuff. Like you had to do mime shit, which is real lame. Fucking whatever, then it went to like short plays, just like little skits, like little sketches and stuff, because we would do. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, little scenes.
Yeah, little scenes. And they would do little showcases. Like we weren't a school that did like full productions. We just had classes.
Okay.
So then on my senior year, it was split. I don't know how schools are made these days because I haven't been in a minute. It was your first half of the year is like 4 classes, and your second half of the year is another 4 classes. I could have graduated early, but instead I took 6 drama classes just because I didn't really. It was that or get a job, and I was like, I'm fucking good on that. And so like I just did school, did drama at school all day. So I would have morning announcements, which were always my favorite. So like we would spend our first block would just be us running around the school, filming stupid stuff, making the news, and then run back. And that's where I learned to edit like stuff, which came back for like promos and stuff. If you saw any of the old Zane and Caleb's, or any of our newer promos that are long form, I edit them all. And we put music to it and everything. So like I had a little bit of knowledge then, but back then it was like you just had 2 VCRs and 2 little track balls, and just basically like you're just recording from one video to another. That's how we did it. That's how we did it in my day, kids. God damn it. And then we would do I took directing classes, which helped with like booking in the future and like understanding play form and whatnot. It was really kind of it, because again, like we weren't a big school into which we would go do we did like one contest ever, and they created a category for us because our play was really good, but it was very like adult almost, like adult for kids, like for high school students to be performing. It's like we had masks and shit. Like we made these plaster of Paris masks, and we did this form of play. It's called Commedia dell'arte, and it's like I believe Italian focused. It was kind of created there and then went to the world, but it had a lot of phallic stuff. So like basically my mask just has a huge cock on the end of it. And so like the play was good, and it had to be because it was fucking 45 minutes long. Yeah. And so they were like, yeah, here you guys go. You got best makeup and masks. Fuck yeah, we did. Fuck yeah.
So something I say a lot, because I come from a theater background from the standpoint that both my parents are theater teachers.
Oh, awesome.
So like my love for wrestling comes from theater, because I think wrestling is the purest form of theater, because it's that happy like space of sports meeting theater. And that for me was always that perfect, like, oh my God, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And I truly think because there are a lot of guys who come from a theater background in wrestling that it's just always like, yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's why there's this next level, like attention to detail almost. we're talking to this was a couple months back now, but to Drew Hood about that because he was a theater kid, and it's just like,
oh really?
Oh, it's just very interesting when we see that crossover, and I think a lot of guys would benefit from that kind of just understanding of it because I think it really aids a lot of guys.
For sure, because especially like we hit a moment of like you have like the super serious like Stone Colds and stuff. This is where your Santino Morella's come from, who also made ass load of money and all like your character driven stuff.
Yeah,
because it's like anybody can like you can be really funny or really entertaining and learn to be a good wrestler. It's quite hard to be a really good wrestler and then try to learn that other stuff.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, like it takes a certain how do you say to get to that point.
Yeah.
Which to also backtrack a second, I just recall my very first theater, like Theater One mime bullshit, was we did a mock Royal Rumble.
Oh, that's right.
Like me and a bunch of kids that some were and some were not wrestling fans, but we set up our stage, which if you took any remedial theater, it's just boxes like in four corners. And then we sat out in the crowd and they would play entrance music and we would come from the crowd and I was X-Pac. And I remember we had a China, but then the girl looked, minus, being jacked to the gills, looked sort of like she was just a black-haired girl. And we did that kind of like, not even stage combat because there was absolutely no good choreography to it. But yeah, that just reminded me when I was talking about that we did that particular skit. So that's fun. Yeah, and here it is coming back. And then getting into X-Pac at some point was a fun time.
Yeah. That is awesome. And you mentioned the Boogie Woogie Man earlier. I want to kind of jump ahead a little bit to. I lost it. Now I look like a dumbass. But you got to tag with him against George South and John Schuyler in 2013.
Yeah, Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah, I just.
Are you just reading my cage match profile to me?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Who cares, man? Do it.
Yeah. Journalism.
I hope you're gonna say something cool like I was there. It changed my life. This is why I'm a wrestler.
But what was that like to like a guy that you were like, oh, I would love to see him wrestle for $15, but like, oh, that's too much money, to now you're actually like tagging with him?
I see him all the time. I just saw him Saturday night and he looks the exact same.
Yeah.
He still remembers me, which I always think is fun. And I've always small things like I used to do a lot of work with, you'll see on Cage Match, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A company called Big Time Wrestling out of they're a Northeast company. Did a lot of stuff with Boogie there and just like small run-ins because he's sort of local. He's Virginia or West Virginia, maybe.
Yeah.
So real close to here. So I see him a lot. That was just fun though, because like we did that for a company called PWX, which went on to be something bigger than it was at the time.
Yeah.
But everyone was super serious. And so there wasn't a lot of characters. And I wasn't much of a character at this time. I was still Stone Cold, or I was still trying to be Stone Cold, having a miserable time. Yeah. And this is about the time when I actually took the switch from being just Zane Riley, like first name, last name guy, to a moniker, and was the party manimal. Started there. And a lot of it did have a lot to do with Boogie Woogie. If you ever speak to John Schuyler, he fucking hates this match.
Really?
Because John Schuyler is a super good friend of mine, fantastic worker, one of the best. He's a real good road bud. But we're fucking around and like just talking over our match as he and I, like George will never speak. He will get dressed at his merch table and he will walk from his merch table to the ring, and you will speak to him none in between. And Boogie he's Boogie.
Just kind of floating around.
We'll say it's the same thing. So I thought it would be real funny because like I would come out with like beers and spit around beer and stuff, and like, but that's more for a a party atmosphere, or if we were doing like bar shows or something.
Yeah.
We were at a school, and that was very not okay. So I thought it would be hilarious to do the same thing, but with milk.
That's
And so,
awesome.
like, I'm coming out and I'm fucking chugging milk and spewing it around. Fans love it. But it turns out when you cover yourself in milk and then begin to sweat, it will expedite the spoiling phase of it all. And all of my stuff is with John. So it's me beating John's ass while he has to smell sweat and milk for 20 fucking minutes. And every time we get a couple good drinks in us, he loves to bring that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I was lucky enough to team with Boogie. I've been lucky enough to been on both sides. I've been lucky enough to wrestle Boogie. And it's just one of those, like, it might sound lazy in my delivery of it, but it's just like one of those easy days at the office. You don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
There's no set anything, because, you know, all that matters is Boogie does his thing and you just get there. And it might sound lazy, but it's not. It's part of the art form of just like, without any type of restriction, literally anything is on the table. Like, we can do anything as long as we get to where Boogie wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't give a shit.
So, I'm sorry. Continue.
It just, I have a million stories about this dumb shit.
Oh, please tell us. Yeah.
One time we tagged again a second time in a city in South Carolina where it was he and I, obviously vastly different in size. But we wrestled these two other guys who were the exact same size. They wore masks, and I call it twin magic because the Bellas called it twin magic. But they would do the thing where you'd beat up one and they would roll out, and the fresh one would roll in and take over and stuff. So me and Boogie, or I thought it'd be really funny, and I had to talk Boogie into it because he just couldn't understand what I was saying because he was not a big Bellas fan, I guess. He has these like $10 homemade masks that he makes. And I was like, Boogie, it'd be really funny if they did that a little bit. Then you and me rolled out of the ring, put your masks on, and then did the same thing. But obviously, we're two vastly different sized people, and there's the joke.
Yeah.
And he at one point he's just like, whatever, baby, let's just do it. I don't care. Yeah, man, let's do it. I don't care either. And it got over very well. It was funny. We didn't tell the other guys, so there you can see they have these like skull paintball masks on, like Army of Two shit.
Yeah.
And you can just see them looking at us do this, and then just these two big fucks just going, just laughing, trying to stay with it, trying not to like fuck up. So yeah, that's just another Boogie story. You know, that will fizzle out the exact same way it started.
So earlier you mentioned big time wrestling, and that's kind of my introduction to you, because that was trying to think, like 2016 or 2017. The Revolt had a tag match. It was in Dorn Arena, somewhere in there, and I'll have to dig it up because I have a picture. I took a selfie with y'all, and it was this weird thing. But from that moment, because y'all were so nice to me, I'm like, oh, I'm with these guys forever. So what is I guess, and we heard Caleb's origin story of the Revolt. I kind of want to hear your perspective of that with PWX and all that. I'm super curious about that.
We're probably I wish I would have listened to. I wish I meant to ask Caleb, like, hey, what'd you guys talk about? So like I could kind of be ready. So I don't know what he thought the origin story was.
Basically, like, he's like, yeah, Zane, I just gotta carry him everywhere, and he's like, all this bullshit, and he's like, I am the Revolt. He's just on my coattails.
Okay, then so it's the same story.
Yeah,
that's what I would assume. So Caleb's a piece of shit, and he's very lazy, and I have to carry him everywhere. So I was like, man, I should come up with a good idea. So we had this. So in the way that it plays with PWX, it's the classic you versus the authority thing that happens everywhere. We had both been in kind of single stuff. Caleb's far more prevalent than mine because Caleb is a phenomenal worker.
Yeah.
I am a guy that's conned a lot of people to think that I'm a good worker, but I just, blame it on character work. So like but he's also been my best friend since I started in Charlotte, which would have been about my third year of wrestling. He's been my best friend that entire time. He's my best friend to this day. I'm currently in one of the rooms of his house filming this promo. So this over here, where the smoke detector is ripped down, he did that. I didn't do that. I don't. He did that. So that's more for when I had to get my deposit back. So like we wanted to do stuff together, and we both kind of needed to change. I needed to be not 100% more serious, but like the same three-piece just wasn't really doing it for me. There wasn't as much creativity as I could possibly have. And I was doing a tag team with Lance Lude at the time, and he was kind of getting out again at the time. So it just kind of made sense to us. And a step back from that, like we were having this conversation, kind of like I said earlier, like everybody wants to be the cool guy. Like everybody wanted to be cool heel. Everybody wanted to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, we were at the gym, and I know that's going to sound like bullshit because I know I don't look like I go to the gym, but that's where I go to tan. And we were having this conversation, and I was like, man, is there something, instead of being a cool heel, is there something in being an asshole baby? Is there something there? And we just kind of dicked around with it for a little bit, and like we figured out what that was going to be. And it just kind of kept blossoming and blossoming more to where it was something that we were very happy with. And that's just where we kind of created the Zane and Caleb put over the world thing, where we're just real snarky pricks, but we're funny when we do it, so people take it as a positive. And so we wanted to do everything that way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a million other comparisons you could chalk that to, that other people have done better in the past on TV, probably. But just that's kind of the angle we wanted to go. Let's give them Zane and Caleb, but let's give them Zane and Caleb being dipshits over here rather than Caleb Conley and Zane Riley. Let's give them fucking Zane and Caleb. And then how do we make that work in an authoritarian position? How do we make that work in long-term booking and which eventually led to a War Games that we were very lucky to be a part of with the team that we were against. So the origin story to me is that we were hanging out at the gym. I was doing like 450, 455 on the bench. Caleb's over there probably like eating a donut, like, you know, nothing really cool. And then I was like, man, you know, it'd be great. 65, 66. We just did asshole baby stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really dope, and it got over real well, and we made so much money. And I don't live in a spare bedroom at the moment.
So through the Revolt, you guys have had some pretty cool matches. I'm the cage match guy, and he's the feeling guy. But you guys wrestled the Young Bucks.
Yes, we did.
Was that cool? I mean,
it was kind of
I'm sorry.
Is that cool, Mr. Riley?
That cool.
So we got to meet Nick and Matt Jackson
at the same time. Man, I was like, you were real. Yes, we were lucky enough to wrestle them. We were so lucky to wrestle a lot of places. And regardless, like a lot of the Revolt, fuck the office stuff that we did it worked so well because a lot of it was based in truth.
Yeah. We
did have issues with both of the people that were in charge. We felt slighted a whole bunch. They knew it, but we were very honest with them, and we were getting into positions where they would only call us when we needed to be bailed out. We got fired all the time, but you couldn't deny kind of what we were doing. And at the base of it, like we were all supposed to be friends, and it wasn't feeling that way. And just whatever happened. Like we're all fine now kind of deal, but it was real at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
How is that? And this might be a dumb question, but how is it? Is it difficult to work in a situation where you're not crazy about the guys you work for? They may not be crazy about you, but to still make something credible, like, because you're invested in your act, but like if they're not so invested in you, is it hard to put out that A+ performance in that situation?
Yes, it is. But that would speak more to one's professionalism.
Okay.
because we can be in the back and cuss each other out for however long you want to, but I'm still going to go out there and do my thing that brought whatever percentage of these people are here to see or whatever they're happy to see.
Right.
You can be pissed off at me all you want, but I'm gonna go sell some fucking t-shirts. I'm gonna pay my rent.
Yeah.
So there's that level of it. It's more just a matter of respect thing and whatnot, but I'm not going to get into the stupid details of that because it's at this point, it's fucking moot. It's not history.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of how we felt about stuff, and it worked out that well. But to say all of that and how negative you might want to take that, I don't really give a shit. But as negative as that was, they did give us a lot of really good matches. And when things were good between us and the office, they were good. But when they weren't, they were definitely not.
Yeah.
But we did get the Young Bucks. That was super cool. We got Scum, Steve Corino and Jimmy Jacobs early on. We had I wrestled Steen there. Caleb was doing stuff with Drew McIntyre. We got to work Best Friends, who Chuck Taylor is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, which is I'm sure a fucking wild thing to hear someone say, but I love Chuck. I got to work with Cabana, who, as like a comedy guy, that's to me is an echelon of like the one you want to work with. But yeah, we were lucky enough to have all these great matches, particularly with the Young Bucks, and they were super dope, man, and they were very giving. And a little behind the scenes that I don't know if Caleb would have mentioned. When we had that match, some more stuff was talked about, and we were going to follow it up with me, Caleb, and I believe Jake Manning. We were going to get him to come back because Jake is a third member of the group. He's just way too over and busy. We was going to come back, I believe, with us three versus the Hardys and Sammy Callahan was like one of the things we talked about.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That was just like they really like I think Matt was there that night, and then Jeff was just kind of hanging out for the show, and that was supposed to be like one of the next steps that just never was able to take off like we wanted. So that would have been super cool. I've done little spots with Matt, but I've never done anything of like never worked with the Hardy Boys, you know, which was probably one of the coolest things ever. So yeah, but you know, like you asked specifically about the Young Bucks. They were super cool. They were very giving. We put them over, and they were very confused as to why, which I thought was super neat. They're like, why would we beat you guys? We're not coming back. And it's fuck, you're right. Why are you?
Yeah.
So, with all that in mind, do you have a favorite singles and a favorite tag match you've done, or does it all kind of blend together?
I do. I have favorite singles matches with. Okay, so this is going to be a fucking combobulated answer. Short answer, yeah, sure, why not? Steen was amazing. Like working Kevin Steen at the time of my career, and this was right at the end of my super serious persona deal. Working him right then was great. I had been utilizing what a fucking stupid word. I'd been ripping off a bunch of his shit for a while. And it just kind of like worked out. Like he came in and he was like super nice and very kind. And I was like, oh, I know you do this, so I'm not going to do it. And he was like, oh, no, do it. Just, you know, I'm just going to do mine better and harder. And I'm like, dope. He's like, that's how you should always do it. Don't do it. Just do it better than the person that you're doing it with. It does the same thing. Fuck, that's okay. And that led us to becoming very good friends. Like he'll message me every once in a while. I try to go see him when he's in town. Like we don't always get to do that, but like whenever I see him at like a WrestleCon during WrestleMania, it's always great to see him again. At the time, my father was going through some health issues, like really bad. Like he had to have some open heart surgery, and there was some complications. And Kevin had found out, and like he messaged me and it was like, "Hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Are you okay?" This was before we even wrestled. Like we've never spoke to the motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to cut a promo on you later. All right. And I'm like, okay, dope. So he starts talking about my dad dying. and that's part of his promo. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. Jumped towards the end there. My dad's fine, still to this day. But at that show, my dad brought my grandmother, and my dad, I don't know if you can tell by me so much, but I come from a line of hillbillies. My dad brought my grandmother, and we're fighting around the outside of the ring, and he takes me over in front of my father, who even in the night is a very nice little thing.
Yeah.
So like he's beating me up in front of my family, and he says something, and my grandmother hops up and just starts fucking swinging on him. And it was so great. And then we kind of go on, and that again fizzles out like every other story. But that was just a funny little deal. And then Kevin will, after that, would continue to ask about my dad and stuff. So it was always very nice. Other singles matches, I got to wrestle Vader before he died, like after the bad car wreck, but before he passed.
Yeah.
And like there was a million horror stories about doing it. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have that horror story with Vader. He was very nice to me. He was very concerned that like I might think the stuff he wanted to do was too like waka waka or too simple. And I was like, absolutely not, man. This is where I make my fucking bread and butter.
Yeah.
And so later in the night when the match was over, I tell this story sometimes, but not always. It depends on how you want to feel about Vader.
Yeah.
To me, it humanizes him some. So match is done. He's been injured. He got hurt the night before. And he's like, hey, do you mind not bumping me? And I was like, dude, I'm just going to feed for a Vader bomb. You can do what the fuck you want. You don't have to leave your feet.
Yeah.
So he's done. He's waiting for the driver to come pick him up. And he asked, like, he's like, I'm waiting for this guy to come so he can carry my bag to the car. I was like, oh, dude, don't worry about it. I'll carry your bag. And he gives me like $10. It was super cool. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Not the part of the story that is the thing. So from the accident, he has a small scar in his lower back from the surgery. And he was like, hey, dude, I really hate to ask this. Will you put this icy hot on my scar? I can't reach it. And it was in a very easy to get to place.
Yeah.
It's this like liquidy roller ball. And so I put it on, but he's also sweating. So the icy hot gets into a sweat and then trickles down the back of his pants and assumedly into his butt crack. And he just goes, and it was like, all right, so you have a great day.
Yeah.
So that's my fun Vader time story. Tag match wise, man, like this is gonna sound really stupid and like marky or whatever, but really, anytime I get to tag with Caleb, like he is my main tag partner. I do have another. I tag with Caitlin Marie, a women's wrestler, local, who is a phenomenal talent. If we don't ever talk about women's wrestling on this for some odd reason, an amazing talent you should definitely check out. Her and I tag together a good bit. But honestly, like whenever I get to tag with Caleb is one of the best times, because even if the match is good or bad, like I know I have him. I know we have gone out of our way to make this work. And it's the exact same person I get to laugh about this with when it all falls off the rails. And I think that's just the funnest part. So yeah, that's a really dumb cheesy answer.
No, I mean,
the Bucks is the answer. It's the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks. Sorry about that sentimentality.
No, we love it.
Fuck everybody.
I think like friendship is a big part of wrestling, especially like
wrestling is just the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. Like having some like wrestling is so alienating sometimes because it's like something that like you're not always sure like where people stand on it, so maybe you're hesitant to talk about it. So if you can find that friend where you can talk about wrestling or watch wrestling or do wrestling with, that's something special. So I can only imagine just like our relationship being able to like do this and watch wrestling. It's not something that I really thought would ever happen, and then to do what you guys have done with the people that you've done it, like the Young Bucks, the Rock and Roll Express, like that's got to be like the crazy, like to be able to do that with your best friend.
I've been very fortunate in that aspect. again, like I said earlier, like I was kind of brought up in a different time. And I was lucky enough to come up with some very, very, very good people and
Mhm.
hard workers. Like I came up with Caleb. Jake Manning was already established and stuff, but he was
Yeah.
around. I trained with George. I came up in the same wrestling class as Cedric Alexander,
Mhm.
Lady Tapa, Tessa Blanchard. Like that was my class. There were like 5 or
Yeah.
6 of us, and that's fucking 4 of them right there.
Yeah.
So I was just lucky enough. And then me and Jake and Caleb are so grizzled and worn down and whatever, just like one another, to where like we're able to stick around each other for long periods of time
Yeah.
and just hate and animosity and just kind of get through it, you know?
For sure.
But I lucked out very well in that aspect.
Awesome. So you've got like a very storied like wrestling, like as far as like bucket list, you've kind of like fucking Vader and the Young Bucks, and like that's got to be amazing as a kid. But you have your toe in another world, like you mentioned earlier. You do some stunt work, and you've also you appeared your hat, the heels, and uh,
That is so exciting because that is one of my favorite shows.
yeah,
It was one of those that like I had a weekend off and I was like, I'm just watching this show, and like I would just got lost in it. So if you could talk us, I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about it.
Well, season 1's already happened, so I can talk about that.
Okay,
Season
great.
2 is coming out, I believe, in June or July, because I think Arrow talked about that already. So I can say that. And then anything past that, I either do not know, which is most of it, or I can't say. But I can talk about one, and I can talk about it in general, but I can't. There's no other details other than like June or July is about it.
How did that come together for you, and what was that kind of? I guess if you can talk about like for say a film in like, and if you can talk us through any of it, I'm just very
Yeah. So how to get this show? So I can be very negative about wrestling. I have a lot of feelings and a lot of thought about a lot of things. And I'm always in my last year. I've been in my last year for the last 15 years. But I have been very lucky to do things wrestling related that wrestling has afforded for me. I met Luke Hawks. He's the owner of Wildcat Sports
down in New Orleans.
In New Orleans, he's a very good man. That's what he does as a living. He's a stunt man. He's an actor. He's fantastic. I had known Luke for a while. I'd done some stuff with him, and there's a character in the show named Diego Cottonmouth. So you watched it, you know, the big luchador man. Well, I just happened to be fat at the right time. They needed someone. They called me, and I'm covered in tattoos and everything. And Robbie Ramos, the actor, who's an amazing man, super talented dude, he's not. And so that was a hard logistics thing. So like they asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. I said yes. They asked for some shots of me. I sent them in. Then they were like, we can't do it because you have too many tattoos. It would take too much time to like cover.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I totally understand it. Good luck. I hope you find somebody. They fucking couldn't. Lucky for me. And so they called back and were like, never mind. We don't care. Just come on. And, you know, I went down. They told me I'd be there for a week. I was there for about 6 months. Basically my job was cool enough to kind of let me come home for the weekends to do it. If I could make wrestling shows, I would make wrestling shows. Hold on. I have some dogs whining outside of my door that I have to let in, but I'll just keep yelling about it. So I had wrestling shows, and I took the ones that I could, but I had to film this show, and it was also during the time of COVID. Like, well, not that it's not the time of COVID now.
Yeah,
it still is, but the way the production of the show would go is that you basically couldn't just leave. So if they had more scenes for me, they would have to bring me back, test me for a couple of days, house me for a couple of days, then film. So they just kept me on. So I basically just moved to Atlanta for 3 months where we did the first half of the filming. And then we had a break over the holidays. And then I bought a camper down there and spent the next 3 months. So I believe I'm in every single episode of the first season as a stunt double for Diego.
Yeah.
He did most of his own stuff. So the cool thing about that is that they were also, if the actors wanted to learn, they were being taught how to wrestle. That's at least for their scenes and stuff. And so like a lot of the stuff you see, like that's them doing it.
Yeah.
Within reason of like safety. So like if you see lockups and stuff on the ropes, that's them. But like the actual flip off stuff is most likely us. But I was in every single episode of the first one, and I'm in most of the second season.
Awesome.
Then there's a small scene towards the end of the season where the Luke Hawk's character jumps off of a balcony onto a guy through a table, and like one of the parties at Gully's mansion. I'm the dude on the table, and then I have a couple other bits in this other show, the other season, as like myself. And something else cool is that like Luke is very big on bringing in people that he likes and trusts and stuff. So Caleb is in there. You can find Caleb in a couple scenes. Who else was brought in? That was second season. Can't talk about that one. But a lot of guys like that, like Caleb was brought in, which is really all it was important to me. I was really happy about that.
Yeah.
So he's in there, and then that also like afforded me, like I did other shows after that. Like I did a couple episodes of Righteous Gemstones.
Yes.
A new show called Will Tennant that I think my episode was a couple months ago. You know, I did a movie with Napoleon Dynamite and Billy Zane that is still in production, but it's super dope. So I just lucked out, man. Like I don't know that I would deserve that, but I'm really glad I got it.
Yeah. The Righteous Gemstones is hilarious. So that's awesome. What episode were you? Is it the upcoming season?
I'm sorry? The
Righteous Gemstones. Oh, it's fine.
So Righteous Gemstones, I'm in season 2 when I'm in the not the wrestling in the past scene. Absolutely not. Let me kick these. Oh, damn it, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. My dog was doing the same thing earlier.
The modern day wrestling scene, I was there, and you blink and you miss me. Like it was myself, Scotty Matthews, Chris Vallow, and Brandon Paradise, I believe, were the regular actors that could do stuff like the stunt people.
Yeah.
And then they had like background wrestlers, and they had like Brad Attitude was one of them. Which was wild because like the best wrestler in this fucking building you can't touch him. Yeah. I think Isaiah Freely, who's the local guy, was also one of the dudes, and I can't remember too many others. Casey Fox was one.
Yeah.
And Brad's wife, Amy Love. So like we did this little scene, and it's really just Eric Roberts asking his buddy for cocaine. And then we're just kind of in the background as a kind of a back thought. And they had us put together this big scene. And we're filming it and stuff. And then they're like, we really need like 15 more seconds filled. And I was like, okay, but it's a battle royal. So like, I've already thrown people out.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Brad's here. We can do a quick little thing. And okay, cool. And it ends with him giving me this big body slam. And Brad's a big, tall son of a bitch, and I'm heavy. And this ring is very hard.
Yeah.
But again, I can't touch Brad. So it's just me walking into Brad, giving me this really big body slam.
Yeah.
And they insist on filming this thing like 10 times. So there's this 10 minutes of me getting my ass beat. Caleb's dog barking, by the way. It's not my dog. My dog doesn't bark. Out, asshole. Go. Sorry. This is gonna be great for views.
No, post-production is a beautiful thing.
Nah, man, I want all that in there. Let them know my life. Let him see how I talk shit to dogs. Let him know how bad Caleb's dog is. Saul. So I'm taking this body slam like 10, 15 times in a row to the point where Brad just goes, "Hey man, you're going up just fine, but I can't keep doing this. Like I can't keep body slamming. I'm getting sore from it." And I'm like, "Me too, dude. I'm down here on the floor." And then I talked to the stunt coordinator. I was like, "Hey, dude, like we're getting to the level of excessiveness as far as like we're gonna need to take a break if we're gonna keep doing this." And he was like, "Oh no, man, the first couple were good. We just forgot to tell you stop." But I did get a little pay bump off that, so it was great.
Yeah,
There
a
you
literal
go.
pay bump.
Yeah, really. Made more
So-
money in my COVID times than I'll ever see the rest of my life.
Oh. So I saw that you and Caleb worked as extras on the NXT Vengeance Day recently.
We did. I think that was just a favor from
Yeah,
what's his name there? Andre Chase.
yeah,
Bravado, Clint.
yeah.
A Bravado brother. Yeah.
One of
Yes.
the bros.
Which
I think that was
catering
just a favor. We were the only guys there.
which catering is better? Like a HBO or Reels, or is it Stars?
It's Stars.
Yes, HBO or Stars show or WWE.
Okay, it kind of depends. So the way catering works at on set is if you're just in the holding area where we were most of the days, our holding area was just a gym and a ring, and that's where we were all day long. So we got these like pre-made meals for us where they just kind of send them over to us. We basically like, do you want meat? Do you want beef? Do you want chicken? Do you want vegan? And that's what we got there. Those were sort of jabroni. But then when you're on set, they have everything in the fucking world, and they're like all theme meals. Those were great. WWE's is good, but I'm going to be honest, AEW's is the best.
There you go.
AEW has the best catering.
Awesome.
That's really nice to hear. That's
Yeah.
that inside scoop.
Yeah.
That, like we don't always.
Which
doesn't get enough credit for their catering.
Man, hey, I don't know if you ever listened to my past podcast, Extra Talented, but that was a big talking point with every person that I had on it.
I was looking through Instagram and I saw that, and that's a really cool idea for a podcast. So, from my understanding, you would bring in guys and you'd kind of just talk about extra work that they've done.
So what we did was, or what I did, it was just me putting it all together, and then of course the guy I talked to. So I would take people that did extra work, and I would talk to them about their scene or their whatever it was they did, and like who the agent was, like what is the cool shit that you like, as much as you could talk about it.
Yeah.
And we would the podcast was ideally like an hour long, and we would talk about that for about 10, 15 minutes. And then we would talk about the catering, which is everybody always wants to know about it. So we're always talking about it. Like, what cool shit did you get to eat? Back in the day, they used to have like dudes like outside grilling lobster and shit for you. It kind of bugged down a little bit. But then after that, like we would drop back and like, so what like kind of makes you outside of wrestling? Because like the idea that like your whole life is wrestling is a fantastic novelty of a thought, but there has to be some anchor to the outside world that gives you that release, or that escape. Like Man Scouts, as he's doing trading cards and stuff now. He does football and basketball cards. He does eBay stores and stuff. That's his. He does stand-up comedy. That's his.
Yeah.
So we would talk kind of about that. And then that would be the majority of our, like, what makes you just a human fucking person?
Yeah.
And like, it would just be for different things. Like Zeta, if you listen to Zeta Zang's episode, she has a very sad story about her time in WWE, which you can go back maybe and listen. I don't know. If you want to hear it, I might find it somewhere. I don't pay for it anymore, so it might not be there. But then like Jason Kincaid just talks about doing shrooms all the time. He's like his mental health and like for his life. And that was more what I cared about. Like, I wanted wrestling to be, because it's so like, when you're inside looking out, like you can believe that wrestling is the entire universe to you. But we're in such a niche of like a small bubble that like the random person on the streets don't give one fuck about what you think is going on here. Like, I want to know what made people real people.
Yeah.
And so like I brought people listen because it's a wrestling podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when we got there, it was essentially the thing we talked about the least.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. Not to say that we're what we're doing here, where all we're talking about wrestling is bad. It's very fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. Hearing my cage match stories and everything.
Yeah.
I got to update Wikipedia page so you can have me back. But no, that was kind of what I wanted to do. Oh, and then me and Man Scout did a podcast called "How Did This Get Booked," which is just we watch really bad wrestling with comedians that have never seen wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
And then let them tell us if it's good or bad or not.
That's
and
awesome.
We just talk about it and figure it out.
That's awesome.
That's a great idea. And your podcast, like that, very much is kind of like to make it if I can make it about this podcast for a second, like in theory, that is very much what we're doing, but because it's again that idea of like getting people to get to know the people behind the characters and what makes up their life and like what to kind of, because ultimately it's about in wrestling, it's that thing I like as a fan that you're just the guys you latch on to is because there's something about them that's relatable. There's something about them that is just like, oh, I see myself in this person. So like that is like
yeah,
absolutely. And it's just that thing that I think that probably is the key to good podcasts is that idea of just you're getting to know the personality. It really has nothing like wrestling such this weird vehicle to get there, but like it's really just about learning what makes up that person.
I love one of the few things I love about wrestling, as jaded as it'll sound, and if we take this turn, boys, we're not coming back. As jaded as it sounds, man, one of the few things that I really like about wrestling anymore is like the actual interaction with fans, and not just the hey, how you doing? Here's my t-shirt, thank you for the $20.
Yeah.
But the like, I've been invited to weddings and I fucking went. Like, they invited me as a joke and I was like, oh no, I'll be there. And I went. Because like maybe this is special to them. I think I've been to like 2 or 3.
That's awesome.
I think one of them lasted. No, 1 and 1.
Yeah.
But these are, or like you can meet certain fans that are kind of get it more so, like that aren't like the fucking shitty term mark or whatever. Like first off, we're all marks. We wouldn't be doing this. So I believe that as a derogatory in its use as a negative connotation towards someone that's giving you their money. That is silly concept, but it's like a normal fan that you would like, oh no, like in a different world, we would just normally be friends, you know, whatever. And so like, I'll go out and drink with fans that are like, oh, we're going to go here and drink. All right, I'll meet you there. Hey, we brought you some beers. Let's go in the parking lot. Yeah. Just that kind of shit, man. Like just the interaction of people that like have the worst times in their lives going on and they gave a fuck to come see you for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like just the level of like, I'm over here with the fucking monkey and a grinder box, sticking thumbs in the ring, and you're fucking having a hard time making rent, or your fucking parents are dying, or whatever it is, and like this was your 10-minute escape, and you chose me or chose us. Fuck, dude, who the fuck am I to like goalie that from anybody? Why wouldn't I want that? Why wouldn't I want that like that personability between people that you know?
Yeah.
Of course, at the same time, I'll see a bunch of wrestlers in the back. I'm kind of fucking hang out with any of these guys. These guys, they're getting paid to be here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. And speaking of that, you've got a show coming up this Saturday at Gouge.
I do. I believe Grog just messaged me. Yeah, he just sent me the event page so I would post it. I believe.
Yeah,
I do have it. I do have a show. Supposedly, I'm wrestling Stephen Meeks.
Yeah. We've had him on the podcast.
It's on the list. That's always subject to change. But I believe it's at Rebar Works in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
It should be fun. Gouge does some really fun shows. The Chikara of the Southeast. I don't know if we can. You might have to bleep Chikara. I don't know if you can say that word anymore.
Yeah.
So that is a show we will be at, and we're looking forward to it because
you're going to be there.
That.
Yeah,
we were at a little bit of the of the last one they did at that bar at the whatever
The
that's
Clouds,
called.
yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you there for my match?
We
had a life thing that popped up, but we were there when you became
walked
a
up.
manager halfway through a match.
Fuck, man. You guys missed a really good time because I think I had to fight 2 or 3 of those rugby players.
Oh shit!
So much shit to him.
Yeah.
One guy kept saying he wanted to deadlift me. He's the biggest man I've ever seen in person, and it's like, that'd be really smart to do. Tell him he's got shitty calves, and I did it. His calves are the size of my fucking head, and it's like, fuck him. We can see what he's gonna do. Yeah, so we were in the back, and like Grog was like, "Hey Zane, you be part of this group," and I was like, "All right, dope. Just tell me what I need to do." And then like the show starts, and I look out, and everybody in my group's out there. I was like, "Am I supposed to be out there right now?" No one told me. I'm standing at the bar buying a beer. So then I just walk out there, and it was like, "You're kind of going to be a surprise partner," and I was like, "Oh, well." None of these people know who the fuck I am anyway. Some shitty surprise, huh?
Yeah.
So we just stayed there. But yeah, no, that was a very fun show. I had to work with Snooty Fox, who I always love to work with. I think he's somebody that tries his fucking hardest to get ahead, and he looks like $1 million, and he's one of the nicest dudes to ever share a locker room with. We had a show a while back where his son came with him, and I was like, "Dude, does your son want to do some spots in this match?" I think I took like a Hurricane Rana from him or something. I don't really give a fuck about my property value because I think that's stupid. And I thought we had it was just really fun working with Snooty. And then I get to this show, and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to apologize for last show." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "Just my head wasn't in it." And I was like, "Bullshit, dude, I had a blast. So I'm sorry you didn't have a good time. Goddamn, I apologize then."
Yeah.
Like, tonight's gonna be better.
He works, man. Like he's been so active for what
I love him, dude.
He's one of those guys that just pops up all the time. It's just these random shows we go to, and he's like, "Oh fuck, he's here too."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, dude, he's so like I love running into him. I do. And then I got to meet his partner that night was a dude named TKO, that I had never met before. But he was super cool, man. He was really fun to work with. He's just a nice new dude in the business. Well, I don't know if he's even new. I think he had only told me like single digit years that he's been wrestling, so I count that as new.
Yeah.
We were doing a thing in the match. I don't know how much inside baseball you guys want to hear, but we're doing some dumb shit in the match, and it's like I'm taking Snooty's comeback, and I'm supposed to duck something, but I think he's supposed to duck it.
Oh no!
So I just throw this really fucking baseball pitch clothesline. I go, "You're supposed to duck, motherfucker!" And they turn around and goes, "No, you're supposed to duck, goddamn!" And it fucking just catches me. And then on my way down, I go, "Oh, you're right."
You
were right. I was like, "Hey man, sorry about that." And he's like, "Oh, it's cool, man. I don't care."
That's
He's like,
awesome.
I thought I was wrong." And I was like, "Nah, man, it's me. I'm an idiot. I suck. I'm a terrible wrestler."
That's incredible.
Awesome, man. Well, we could probably talk to you all night. I don't know.
I'm in 2-parters.
Kind of what we like to do. And before we start, do we have your permission to like kind of take that last bit that you do with your podcast and like incorporate the life part into it? I don't want to
Take it all, man. Shit.
Okay, because that's
just give me a little credit here and there, Bubba.
We'll call it the Zane Riley portion.
Yeah, just put me in your book. That's all I ever tell anybody.
But as far as you've mentioned a few, but who are some wrestlers like either in North Carolina or really anywhere do you think more people should know about?
Number one's always going to be Caitlin Marie for me. She came from the same school. She busts her fucking ass. She doesn't look like every other female women's wrestler out there, and she's really just fucking killing it. So I love to see her work. She's had a really great match this weekend with Rachel Ellering. Snooty Fox, as I said, is a great guy. Zuka King, I think, is a fucking fantastic dude. You guys just had Jay Malachi. I think he has killer stuff.
Oh yeah.
Eric Academia, who is a newer women's wrestler in the area. Her dad was my first trainer's assistant.
Oh, really?
Oh wow.
I've known her dad forever, and before she went to the Palmetto Academy, where she trains with Ethan Case now, for about 4 or 5 months, maybe on and off, I was her trainer.
Mm-hmm.
But with like my travel schedule for wrestling and my travel schedule for filming and all this other stuff, I wasn't able to continue.
Uh-huh.
And they had mentioned like, what do I think about Ethan Case? And I was like, yeah, he's fantastic. Go on, go do it. You know, learn some stuff, but you know, don't forget what I told you. God damn it. Like on the spot. There's a bunch of fun people out of Florida. I do this company called FSCW.
Mhm.
It's fantasy. S is superhero cosplay wrestling, where we just take people from all over America, and we give them characters from anime, video games, movies, and we put matches together with them at this convention called GalaxyCon.
Oh, nice.
So
awesome.
one of the guys there is my tag partner for the company. We play Junkrat and Roadhog from the Overwatch video games.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And his name is Aaron Agony. He's super fun. Lexi Steele, I think, is super dope. Her boyfriend, I'm trying to think what his wrestling name is. I just know I think it's Chris Prince is his wrestling name. He's fucking cool dude. I'm gonna miss so many people. It's such a talent pool around here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm sorry. I'll do better next time having just a list of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are really top fives. Chris Vallow is a super cool kid. Yeah, that's what I got.
We will have to make sure to do this again with you, because this has been an absolute blast, man.
Yeah.
I've got a million of these. We're only in the early years, guys.
Yeah. And then before we go, I think Christian has one more question, but I have a kind of a question. Who is Zane Riley outside of wrestling? Kind of pitch it back to you.
It's a fucking doof. I don't know, man. He's old, he's bitter, but he's positive that, like, you know, that shit can turn around. Like, everybody's going through hard stuff. So like, I just a dude that wants to make everybody happy. I think that's kind of my love language, is just pleasing and whatnot, like to help, you know, whoever I can feel better about something. And I try to bring that over into my wrestling. I like to think that I'm just a good, fun-loving, fun-time happening guy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. It's hard and awkward to talk about yourself in the positive a lot, because we're in like a world of self-deprecation as a mask and whatnot. But I don't know, man. I hope I'm just a dude that hung out long enough to help some people get some shows and have a good time. I hope that's who I am. So I don't know who Zane is, but that's who I hope he is.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So what does that cookout tray look like?
I just had a cookout yesterday on the way back from my show. It goes different ways. It kind of really just bases itself on what I want the main to be. So sometimes it's the 2 hot dogs. Now, the 2 hot dogs are delicious. Now, this is a scam to get 4 items in your tray. So 2 hot dogs. Usually, now if I'm not in a hot dog mood, I always get the cheeseburger, but I'm always let down because I do the cookout style. And they just put the biggest piece of goddamn onion they can possibly find. I love onion, but the onion's bigger than the burger patty. And then sometimes the barbecue sandwich. It's a hit or miss, but we're gonna go ahead and say that I got the 2 hot dogs. So I got the 2 hot dogs, cookout style, because they cut the onions up for that son of a bitch. Because again, 4 fucking items. Boom, boom. Bacon wrap always. It's always gonna be one of them. Sometimes it'll either be a ranch wrap also, or a chicken quesadilla. And it's always the tea. Their milkshakes are just too thick for me, man. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
I'm driving. I can't eat it with a spoon, and I can't suck it through a straw well. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
So that's typically it. Now, sometimes if I'm being a real fat ass, I might throw on a side of BLT. Those shits are fucking great there. But yesterday I had a walking taco, and that fucking shit was awful. And I wanted it to walk its ass back inside.
Yeah. What do you think about Jack in the Box?
For it, man. There was one like down the street from my old apartment, and they were always open.
Yeah.
That goes 50-50. Usually it's the teriyaki bowl.
Mhm.
But if I'm just feeling like a big scumbag, it's either going to be the like 8 of the tacos,
Oh yeah.
or it's going to be that one burger that's just nothing but fucking bacon.
Yeah.
One of those two. But typically I try to keep it with the teriyaki bowl so I feel a little bit better about myself. Like I didn't just buy food from a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
This has been really validating for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. And this is a hook for everybody. 4 fucking items on the tray if you go hot dog.
That's like our tradition. Anytime we go to Charlotte for like a wrestling show, we usually, and it's gotten bad. It's before and after.
Yeah.
Because it's like we don't
It's
have
a long
them here.
drive.
Yeah.
Where do you guys? So are you guys from Raleigh area?
Yeah, we're right outside of Raleigh.
All right, I got one around on you. So I'll go to Raleigh and I'll go to 2 places, one before and one after. First, I'll go to Cloud 9 Sushi or Sushi 9.
Okay.
That place is delicious. But then I'll go to DP Dough afterwards, the calzone.
God.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That is my college year location.
Back to it. So Caitlin Ree went to NC State. She got me onto the DP Dough.
Oh yeah,
that shit was delicious. And they had, one of their days is like,
oh yeah, on
Tuesdays
it was 2 for 1.
Yeah. There. And then some shitty bar called Sammy's, but it was kind of whatever.
Yeah, it was right over there. It's a Steelers bar, so.
Nah. Yeah, they had a real fucking hard time turning the White Sox game on for me. I was real mad about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, next time you guys ever come out Charlotte way, let me know. I'll take you to some of the hidden gems.
Hell yeah, dude.
There we go.
You to the Pinkies, or I can take you to the really shitty diner that everybody got their Jim Crockett Promotions paycheck from around the corner and then went to that diner to eat.
That'd be rad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it all. We'll just go on a culinary voyage.
Sounds like the best time.
We can.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We can film it, so it's like we're doing something here.
This is a workplace experience. We can write it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Do your taxes, kids.
This has been awesome. This has been great. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And we'll see you this weekend. We'll make a point to stop by.
Hell yeah. Hopefully. Yeah, just come see that match. You can leave after that. I don't know. Tim is going to be there. Tim's very good. You know that.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of cookout, we had Tim on. This might be a little life hack for you. For the chicken quesadilla, extra chicken, bacon.
Ooh.
It kind of changed my life for a couple weeks.
You know, you can get that fucking Lord, the fucking fat fucks. Just you can get the quesadilla sauce on the side for your
friends. That's my favorite thing, dude.
Yeah, man, you get that shit, dipping it up. All right, guys, welcome to Fast Food Talk with your host. Good guy, bad pants, bad ass. Here we are.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. See, as soon as the first hour ended, it just turned into food.
Yeah.
But like really local.
Next level chef here in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting hungry now. So.
Hell yeah, good perfect time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, we appreciate you. We'd love to have you back on. We'll stop and say hi this weekend.
Please do.
For Gouge. And yeah, just thanks.
It's been great. Thank you so much.
I don't know why my light keeps changing on me. Sometimes I'm bright, sometimes I'm dark. It's mysterious.
It's okay.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a great podcast. And I hope you get 1 million more people on it. And then have me back for part 2, the follow-up.
Yeah.